Welcome back, everyone. So, we will continue with another important part of human to computer interaction, which is cognitive frameworks. So, basically, cognitive frameworks is the one we were talking about before. It's about the perceptual and situational awareness. And we will gonna dig deep on the terms that is being used in computer science to distinguish different kinds of that awareness. Introduction. Imagine that it's getting late in the evening and you're sitting in front of your laptop. You have a report to complete by tomorrow morning, but you're not getting very far with it. You begin to panic and start biting your nails. You see several notifications flash up on your smartphone. You instantly abandon your report and cradle your smartphone to read them. One is a message from your mother, and other is a text from your friend asking if you want to go out for a drink. Now, uh, if you will notice that this uh, situation is where you get distracted. So your attention, which we will discuss later, is all over the place, which means that the ability to recall, memorize, or learn, uh, or solve or complete a task is also limited because you're distracted. But not all the distraction is the same. So we will explain that earlier, later as well. You see several notification flash up on your smartphone. You instantly abandon your report and cradle your smartphone to read them. One is a message from your mother, and other is a text from your friend asking if you go out for a drink. So these are the normal occurrence, especially today for young people. They get distracted, so their brain is all over the place. But as we will see later, that is actually not the most efficient way to learn. Uh, so this technology has this pros and cons. What is cognition? There are many different kinds of cognition, such as thinking, remembering, learning, daydreaming, decision making, seeing, reading, writing, and talking. We will discuss uh, every, all of that. Experiential cognition is a state of mind where people perceive, act, and react to events around them intuitively and effortlessly. It requires reaching a certain level of expertise and engagement. Examples include driving a car, reading a book, having a conversation, and watching a video. In contrast, reflective cognition involves mental effort, attention, judgment, and decision-making, which can lead to new ideas and creativity. Examples include designing, learning, and writing report. Both modes are essential for everyday life. So the reading could be an experiential cognition because you could get used to it, especially if you are bookworm when you were a child, driving a car as well, and then watching a video because we do that every day, so it become a habit. But for reflective cognition, it activates whenever you're trying to do something new that you don't do every day, such as this. So try this. 2 plus 2, you can easily calculate that. But here, try to calculate that and it will take you some time. Other ways in which cognition has been couched in interaction design are in terms of the context in which it takes place, the tools that are employed, the artifacts and interfaces that are used, and the people involved. So basically, another way to characterize this cognition is related to the place, the tools, and the artifacts and interface that are used. So, for example, this place, I am at home. I am using the laptop and then this notepad tool. The artifacts is uh, uh, an ebook, and this pictures, and then this text. These are the artifacts, and the interface that they use is video and text, right? So those are the artifacts interface. Depending on when, where, and how it happens, cognition can be distributed, situated, extended, and embodied. Here we will discuss this last. This is the last topic in this chapter. So embodied, we will describe how environment affect our cognition. Cognition has also been described in terms of specific kinds of processes like attention, perception, memory, learning, reading, speaking, and listening, problem solving, planning, reasoning, and decision making. It is important to note that many of these cognition processes are interdependent. Several may be involved for a given activity. It is rare for one to occur in isolation. For example, when reading a book, one has to attend to the text, perceive and recognize letters and words, and try to make sense of the sentences that have been written. So the good thing about this, learning this or reading this or watching a tutorial like this about this cognition is that you'll be able to have this, what you call that, you'll be able to have this like vocabulary that this exists. So it is a study of how these things work. There are different or terms being described. Again, it could be distributed, situated, so it's like a situational awareness. Our cognition could also be extended using tools, which we will discuss that later, or mental models. And then embodied, it talks about how environment affects our cognition. So these things, additional knowledge about this is it is interconnected. So sometimes when you're reading, when you're reading, you could use your attention, your perception to perceive it, your memory while you're doing it, your learning while you're doing it, and then sometimes you could be speaking when you're reading because you are able to like there is this called I forgot what it's called, but for reading sometime you have to pause to be able to speak to yourself what this happened or what did you just read. So it activates a lot of neural cognition pathways. First is attention. The most relevant for interaction design are attention and memory, which we describe in the greatest detail. It enables us to cross the road without being hit by a car or bicycle. Notice when someone is calling our name and be able to text while at the same time watching TV. It involves selecting things on which to concentrate at a point in time from the range of possibilities available, allowing us to focus on information that is relevant to what we are doing. The extent to which this process is easy or difficult depends on first, whether someone has clear goals, and two, whether the information they need is salient in the environment. So we're talking about now the attention, the term as attention. So the more clear we are on things that we want to find or get, the better our attention. Uh, so that's also the importance of reading. The more clear we are on the people that we associate with about their psychologies, their history, then we will be able to communicate to them better because that's actually how we have clear goals. We need to be able to read a lot. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. Like you have to read every time. For example, when someone has just landed at an airport after a long flight, which did not have Wi-Fi on board, and they want to find out who won the World Cup, they might scan the headlines on their smartphone or look at breaking news on public TV display inside the airport. So this person are clear about his goal that he wants to find who won the World Cup. So having a clear goals is basically saves a lot of cognitive load or cognitive energy because you don't have to drift to all of things that might distract you. Another example of this in websites. So a lot of websites clutter their um, tools that you may not need. So it's important to know exactly what you want in the first place so that you won't be distracted. So that's the most important. Having clear goals, everyone. Um, and then when someone is not sure exactly what they're looking for, they may browse through information, allowing it to guide their attention to interesting or salient items. So a lot of times, these digital tools wants us to do something because if you don't know or understand how business works, basically people are always trying to sell you something. They want to transfer your money to them because that's how capitalism works. You cannot make money out of nothing unless you're a syndicate. So what they do is that they try to like distract you on things that will not may not help you or may not be beneficial to you but beneficial to them. That's why it's important to have this clear goal. For example, when going to a restaurant, someone may have the general goal of eating a meal but only a big idea. They peruse the menu to find things that whet their appetite, letting their attention to be drawn into imaginative descriptions of various dishes. After scanning through the possibilities and imagining what each dish might be like, as well as considering other factors such as cost, who they are with, what are the specials, what the waiter recommends, and whether they want a two or three course meal and so on, so they can decide. Someone sure what to choose in the menu in a restaurant. Here, it's sure someone not sure. So the clarity is very important. Again, I can emphasize that enough. Information presentation, another key with attention, because later we will explain how attention is very important when learning or memorizing something. So the degree of uh, the degree to which we memorize or learn something depends on this, on our clear goals. And then second is the presentation of the information. Now it's related to how the people should use the right tools at the right task. This representation is about choosing the right representation at the right of the right information, especially in the web or digital technology. So here, as is an example, it's an organized. So if you find Columbia Vega band in here, it's easier compared to this. So the difference is 3.2 seconds and 5.5 seconds, which could be used, which could be add up or compounded in seconds. Imagine how many information like this is on the web or you're constantly doing at your work, especially if you are on knowledge work. It's a lot. Why is this so? Considering that both displays have the same density of information relative to the background. So the reason for that is this breaks the information apart. So it allows our cognitive brain to have a clear focus at the time. The primary reason for this disparity is the way that information is grouped in the display. In the top screen, it is grouped into vertical categories, that is, place type of accommodation, phone number, and rates. And this screen has space in between the columns. In the bottom screen, the information is bunched together, making it much more difficult to search. Multitasking and attention. So, as mentioned in the introduction, let me let me add here because this is like the basic. So I just want to dig dive every time in the basics. So basically, the more clear information and the right representation of data that allow us to like solve a task. Let's say you want to like find that information in this representation, you won't be able to make sense of it. So it's about like making sense of things using the right representation, or in computer science, it's like algorithm. How would you solve this um, task, or how do you complete this task in this time? You need to choose the right representation. If we have the right representation, or if we have tools, the right algorithm, things becomes easier. So I just want to clarify on that. If we are clear about our goals and if we use the right tools, we can achieve anything. Or if we use the right algorithm. So I would suggest you go back to my algorithm video, which is like 4 to 5 videos in this that will help us in this type of in this attention um, topic. Multitasking and attention. As mentioned in the introduction to this chapter, many people now multitask, frequently switching their attention among different tasks. There has been considerable research investigating the pros and cons of multitasking and its occurrence among different populations. Not surprisingly, it is most prevalent among young people. A question that is often raised is whether it is possible to perform multiple tasks without one or more of them being detrimentally affected. The focus has been on the effects of multitasking on memory and attention on research in 2015. A general finding is that it depends on the nature of the task and how much attention each demands. For example, listening to gentle music while working can help people tune out background noise, such as traffic or other people talking, and help them concentrate on what they are doing. However, if the music is loud, it can be distracting. So the distraction are actually not contrary to popular opinion. Distraction is not always bad. Sometimes a good type of distraction, such as this change of music, like when you're listening to song to change your mood, to be able to focus on the task. Sometimes it's better. It works for me personally. Um, Additionally, is that the the distraction should be distinguishable, or there should be it should be related to the task that you want to accomplish. For example, in collaboration tool, you have to be able to use that distraction to be able to like to be able to um, look at things that would not be able to possible for you, such as like going back to the topic of tools. These tools allow us to do things that would not otherwise possible without them or with just manual human capabilities. It's like giving feedback outside of your brain, or like giving alerts, or chat back, uh, warning signs that allow us to to be alert on things that might we might need to complete the task. So individual differences have also been found. I just want to add as well with the concept of this is multitasking and attention. Basically, it also depends on different people on how they can attend to something, because some people just don't like they have ADHD. I think that's what it called. That could not focus on one thing at a time. So unfortunately, they were not able to they were not lucky to have that ability. So different tools are effective for them. But the principle is the same. They need to have a clear goals and the information that they want to attend to should be relevant to that clear goal. Individual difference have also been found. A light medium multitasker, on the other hand, were found to be better at allocating their attention when faced with competing distractions. This suggests that people who are heavy multitaskers are likely to be those who are easily distracted and find it difficult to filter out irrelevant information. It's not clear, however, whether people who are easily distracted are predisposed to becoming heavy multitaskers. For example, a study of completion rates of coursework found that students who were involved in instant messaging took up to 50% longer to read a passage from a textbook compared with those who did not instant message while reading based on research in 2010. So those who checked the instant message were less likely to understand what the textbook means because I think there's like a momentum in attention. In like first 15 to 20 minutes, you won't really get the gist of it. But like if you continue that for like an hour, you're gonna get way more if you constantly switch. But it really depends on distraction. So if the distraction is relevant to the task, then it could be good. So multitasking can also result in people losing their train of thought, making errors and needing to start over again. Interestingly, Daniel Lotribe found in 2015 that while heavy multitaskers are easily distracted, they can also put this to good use if the distracting sources are relevant to the task in hand. They conducted a study that involved writing an essay under two conditions with either relevant or irrelevant information. Their findings showed that if the information sources, so basically it's the same with what I'm talking about, that the related distraction can be beneficial. Many people are expected, and notice that that's a latest research compared to this 2010. Many people are expected to multitask in their workplace, such as in hospitals, as a result of the introduction of ever more technology, for example, multiple screens in an operating room. The technology is often introduced to provide new kinds of real-time and changing information. Research into how well clinicians manage to switch and divide their attention among different tasks in tech-rich environments also suggests it is complex depending on a number of individual and a contextual factor as to how effective they are at achieving this. Again, it's about the salient information. Was it distinguishable? Was it related to the context that the task are trying to accomplish or to the clear goal? Or, for example, a study of attention and switching in a clinical setting showed that when there was a lot of attention switching, as indicated by log data from the electronic health records that were accessed, more wrong patients were made. By this is meant when a patient is identified incorrectly, regardless of whether the error translates into patient harm. So whether it is a costly mistake or not, they found that those who switch a lot that does not have a purpose of the task basically uh, made errors more than those who did not. Managing the ever-increasing information load requires professionals like clinicians to develop new attention and scanning strategies, looking out for anomalies in data visualizations, and listening for audio alarms alerting them to potential danger. So this is what I'm saying. You need to have the right salient information in the right task. Additionally, again, these are tools that just extends our capabilities that we won't be able to do otherwise. So it becomes like our extension. It's not the tools. I would say it the better detailed information for me is that it becomes part of our bodies. So it's an extension of our bodies already. Because, for example, like the blind person could actually use the internet using voice interface. it becomes their extension. Interaction designers have tried to help by including the use of ambient displays that come on when something needs attention, flashing arrows to direct attention to a particular type of data or history logs of recent actions that can be quickly examined to refresh one's memory of what just happened on a given screen. Another thing about this is memory. So we will discuss that later. But basically, this flash arrow to direct attention not, to a particular type of data or history logs to be able to make sense of that information that you need for that particular task better. In the future, other technologies such as speech-based interfaces and augmented reality may prove to be effective at alerting people to what needs attending to a given time. So my question to you guys is, what interface or technology do you think would be useful or yeah, in the future for this salient information for, like, example, clinical settings? So how would you use augmented reality, hologram, eye, or this 3D yeah, hologram glasses by Meta? How would you use that in clinical settings? How could you improve the process, the system, and how they do that? How would you use these capabilities to be able to achieve your goal? So here's an example of a data visualization tool that allows you to check how much time you spend on each application. So here it's a time blocking tool, guys, that allows you to check the information of your screen time. People talk on their phones while walking, so why not be able to do the same thing when driving? So the main reasons that driving is more demanding are more prone to being distracted, and there is a greater chance of causing accidents. However, it is also the case that some pedestrians, when using their phones, walk out into a road without looking to see whether any cars are coming. So there is a debate whether using phone while driving or in pedestrian is good enough or it's allowable. So a meta basically this research says that the law or the myth, there is a myth that the handless phone, or if you are not holding your phone, it's less dangerous. But research actually shows another result, because it tells us that whether it's a phoneless, handless phone, it process or it use the same cognitive part of our brain, which is our attention. We're trying to imagine people on the other side when we're talking. So both are dangerous. But there is a nuance. For example, the person you're talking with is at the same car. Then that person could alert you or help alert you, like by tapping you, or using this like implicit gesture to alert you when something needs attention. So the cost of switching attention varies from person to person and which information resources are being switched between. So again, we have a different capabilities when it comes to attention, and also it depends on the salient information. When developing new technology to provide more information or people in their work settings, it is important to consider how best to support them so that they can easily switch their attention back and forth among the multiple displays or devices and be able to return readily to what they were doing after an interruption. For instance, the phone ringing or people entering their space to ask questions. Avoid cluttering visual interfaces. So, what's the takeaways? You should avoid cluttering visual interfaces with too much information. This applies especially to the use of color and graphics. It is tempting to use a lot of these attributes, which results in a mishmash of media that is distracting and annoying, rather than helping the user attend to relevant information. So again, the attention are limited, the our cognitive load, our memory is related to attention, and that is limited. So the automatic or the tradition is to use a color and graphics to emphasize an information. But does it really? So it really depends on the goal. So you have to do trial and error. So yeah, the common mistakes is color and graphics being added to the interface. Consider designing different ways of supporting effective switching and returning to a particular interface. This could be done subtly, such as the use of pulsing lights gradually getting brighter, or abruptly, such as the use of alerting sounds or voice. How much competing visual information or ambient sound is present also need to be considered. So, how much you can use lights to gradually getting brighter to help alert you for physical settings. So this does not apply in computer screen or if you're using the computer because that's you cannot really like adjust or the lights every time in your computer. It's just not designed. This just not the interface. It was this takeaways was supposed to use. Alerting sounds or voice, this could be used in an application, definitely. For example, notification to alert you when something that happened. For example, in Teams, you can on all the notification when you're at work. And how much competing visual information or ambient sound is present also need to be considered. So you need to determine the pros and cons always. Uh, we will discuss that the highest level of thinking or what makes us human, such as this, comparing the pros and cons. Consider context. Make information salient when it requires attention at a given stage of a task. So again, important is the context because it goes back to being clear in your goal and the information in the environment supports you to achieve that goal. Perception. So this is an important again, which was discussed in the previous video. Perception refers to how information is acquired from the environment via the five sense organs: vision, hearing, taste, smell, and touch, and transport into experiences of objects, events, sounds, and taste in 1996. So personally, I rarely notice the hearing and the uh, taste and touch. So maybe I have low senses for that. And vision may be high, maybe the highest, but not that high. Smelling, yeah, I rarely use that senses. In addition, like I really use those sentences when like learning something because I usually read to learn something. In addition, we have the sense of kinesthesia, which relates to the awareness of the position and movement of parts of the body through internal sensory organ known as proprioceptors located in the muscles and joints. So these senses actually are not always used. We usually use visual and hearing for this. Actually, let me rephrase. I usually use visual and hearing, but for the other senses, to be honest, I don't use that because I work from home and usually use those two senses alone. But I strive hard to use the other because of the previous knowledge that I got. So these senses are being used for dancing, for learning dance, so such as markings, which we will discuss again later. Basically, it's about mimicking some person at the front of you, using the muscles and body. So these are senses that we have that we are not aware because we're so busy caught up in our own mind. So perception is complex, involving other cognitive processes such as memory, attention, and language. Vision is the most dominant senses for sighted individuals, followed by hearing and touch. With respect to interaction design, it is important to present information in a way that can be readily perceived in the manner it was intended. So again, vision is the first one, and then hearing, and then touch, which I think most people forget that, for example, in chats or collaboration tools, you got to have, if you want to utilize the size senses, not just hearing and visual, you got to use like emojis, emojis, GIFs that activates a lot of that. So that's an advantage if you know that. That's like a subtle things, like for example, picture that allows you to use the right format and the right task. As was demonstrated in previous example, grouping item together and leaving space between them can aid perception because it breaks up the information. Having chunks of information make it easier to scan rather than one long list of text that is all the same. In addition, many designers recommend using white space when grouping objects as it helps users to perceive and locate items more easily and quickly based on research by WordPress in 2022. So, our company tools usually do this. They use white background because based on research recently, it helps the user distinguish the content better. Representations of information need to be designed to be perceptible, recognizable across different media. So again, it should activate the perception and it should be recognizable. So like the idea is to avoid using the recall and use the perception or the less cognitive demanding um, sense at a given time so that we have a lot of energy. Design icons and other graphical representations so that users can readily distinguish between them. Using white space is an effective visual method for grouping information that makes it easier to perceive and locate items. So locating items is a type of recall cognition, which takes a lot of cognitive load. So it's better really to not go to your destination if you're already in your destination, because again, for attention we need to have a clear goal. But if we can find the fastest way to go there, then that is better. Design audio sounds to be readily distinguishable from one another so that users can perceive how they differ and remember what each one represents. So, uh, I keep talking about this, so I won't gonna expand of this. For example, it is okay to use yellow text on a black or blue background but not on white or green background. When choosing colors, also take into account color vision deficiency. The kinds of haptics used should be easily distinguishable so that, for example, the sensation of squeezing is represented in a tactile form that is different from the sensation of pushing. Overuse of haptics can cause confusion. Another thing that cause confusion is the sense of touch. So sometimes when we're using this haptic, which we discussed in the previous interfaces um, video, when we are using haptics, we're activating the sense of touch. But if it's not distinguishable or it is not relevant to the clear goal, then it is not gonna help. It's just gonna confuse. It will add or distract you to your goal. So it adds cognitive load. Memory A memory involves recalling various kinds of knowledge that allow people to act appropriately. For example, it allows them to recognize someone's face, remember someone's name, recall when they last met them, and know what they said to them last. It is not possible for us to remember everything we see, hear, taste, smell, or touch, nor would we want to, as our brains would get overloaded. So, another part of this representation is that the you can think of brain as this complex combination of memory, attention, perception. So, uh, but memory is actually about recording or like making sense of the information that we are given at the moment. So memory is also what allows us to focus at a given time and to learn deeply a task because as you will learn later, the intensity of the focus and the more relation or the more representation we we do with a given context or information, the more we remember. This filtering process, however, is not without its problem. Often we forget things that we would like to remember, and conversely, remember things that we would like to forget. For example, we may find it difficult to remember everyday things like people's names or scientific knowledge, such as mathematical formula. I would add to this is this topic or this fact, which a yellow text on a black or blue background should be the one of the information that people remember, but it's not. I want to remember that, but I can't for some reason because we're just not designed or our representation or like our brain are just not designed for that work. But we may effortlessly remember trivia or tunes that cycle endlessly through our heads. So trivia are better remembered. So that's great fact. So if it's like, I think the more emotional something is, the better it's remembered or the more visual you learn that. For example, in reading books, fiction, you always have to imagine the characters. For example, when learning about a topic, it's much better to reflect on it, yeah, carry out exercises, have discussion with others about it, write notes rather than passively reading book or watching video about it. Thus, how information is interpreted when it is encountered greatly affects how it is represented in memory and how easy it is to retrieve subsequently. Like what I've said, the more we like reiterate, explain, the more we inhale and make this knowledge our own. So there, what I would personally find best when it comes to learning is teaching it like this and taking notes. And special, I have like three actually. Reading, I learn through reading, and then I take notes like this, and then I explain it. That's the best way I learn. But it's different for different people, right? Another factor that, but for most people, I think that works. Like for normal people that don't have this high capability for learning, I think that works. Another factor that affects the extent to which information can be subsequently retrieved is the context. It's in which it is encoded. One outcome is that sometimes it can be difficult for people to recall information that was encoded in a different context from which they want. So sometimes we got used to some information, like we encounter this information or these people at your house, but not in the train. So at the train, you don't recognize them. So again, we will continue the discussion in the next video. But basically, we just dig dive to the basics. On this, maybe we could dig dive here, but as we go along, we won't gonna dig deep on that. So we will gonna glance. I mean, not glance, but we will just gonna provide this overview and then the necessary or relevant information for us to achieve our goal to
better interact with these computers. Again, we were able to discuss the attention, cognition, attention, perception, and memory is part of actually the cognition. And it's related to how people interact with these computers that become parts of our human body. Again, guys, thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Peace.